giggle. I giggle.
ADR. You can listen to us on 94.9 FM in Dakar through our website www.wadr.org. WADR, promoting dialogue.
Good evening and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on WADR.org. Welcome to Newslink, and here are the top stories. Newly sworn in Ghana's President Mahama pledged a fresh start and economic recovery.
And in the last few years, we have lurched from crisis to crisis. But there is hope on the horizon. Today should mark the beginning of a new opportunity.
In Côte d'Ivoire, opposition PDC-IRA summons Jean-Louis Billon to its disciplinary council. Guinean opposition leader Leo Ba sentenced to 2 years in prison. And a Nigerian group tells state oil firm to prioritize crude oil supply to Dangote and other local refineries.
The operations of Dangote refinery are expected to produce 650,000 barrels per day. And since it can be exported, it will boost Nigeria's foreign reserves, enhance the country's foreign currency earnings.
Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is Imo Edit with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast. Ghana has ushered in a new chapter of its democratic journey as John Dramani Mahama is sworn in as the country's sixth president under the Fourth Republic. In a historic ceremony at the Black Star Square, Mahama emphasized a fresh start for governance and a renewed focus on economic recovery. His vice president, Professor Nana Jane-Opoku-Agyeman, also made history as the first female to occupy the role, symbolizing a step forward for gender equality in leadership. WDL's Accra correspondent Nadi Tete reports.
I, John Dramani Mahama, having been elected to the high office of President of the Republic of Ghana.
John Dramani Mahama has officially returned as Ghana's president after being sworn in at a grand inauguration ceremony at the Black Star Square in Accra on January 7, 2025. The historic event drew thousands of Ghanaians alongside dignitaries and global leaders to witness a swearing in as the sixth president of the Fourth Republic. In his inaugural address, President Mahama described his new administration as a fresh opportunity to reset Ghana's governance and economy following years of challenges.
Where people buffeted by severe economic crisis and hardships, and in the last few years, we have lurched from crisis to crisis. But there is hope on the horizon. Today should mark the beginning of a new opportunity, an opportunity for us to make a difference in our governance and our economic management. We shall reset our dear nation, Ghana.
At 65, Mahama secured the presidency with a decisive 56.6% victory in the 2024 elections, defeating the New Patriotic Parties and Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who polled 41.6%. The inauguration also celebrated the swearing-in of Ghana's first female vice president, Professor Nana Jane-Opoku-Agyeman.
I, Professor Nana Jane-Opoku-Agyeman, having been elected to the office of Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, do in the name of the Almighty God swear that I will be faithful and true to the Republic of Ghana.
President Mahama commended her historic achievement, saying,
Nana Jane's ascension to the high office is not merely a personal triumph. It symbolizes our collective commitment to fostering a nation where gender equality and female representation are cherished and amplified.
Nigerian President Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, who was the guest of honor, expressed his unwavering support for Ghana's newly inaugurated President John Mahama.
You know, you can count on Nigeria's support at any given time you call on me. I am confident that new government under the leadership of President John Mahama will work with Nigeria to strengthen this powerful bond. I have no doubt that your administration will bring about positive change and progress.
For WADR, Nadidi Teti, Accra.
Meanwhile, Ghana's new parliament has been inaugurated. The 9th parliament of the Fourth Republic of Ghana came into force after the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagby, sworn into office members of parliament who won their elections in the December 7, 2024 polls. In total, the MPs on the National Democratic Congress side of the House, who now form the majority, command a historic 2/3 of parliament, while the New Patriotic Party NPP MPs have formed the new minority with less than 100 seats. This parliament comes on the back of the 8th Parliament of Ghana, which was also a historic one because it was the first hung parliament with either side of the House having numbers of 137 MPs, except for one independent member who elected to vote with the NPP. Speaker Alban Bagby has also become the first ever to be elected to serve a second term as head of the legislature in Ghana. Listen to him speak after he was elected.
It is with great humility that I accept the high and privileged office of the Speaker of the 9th Parliament of the Fourth Republic of Ghana, having had the same honor to be Speaker of the 8th Parliament. I also express my gratitude to the President-elect, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, for the trust and confidence in me and my leadership of the House, and for recommending my candidature in consultation with the leadership of the great National Democratic Congress to be elected Speaker of this Parliament. I came to the Speaker of the 8th Parliament with my experience as the longest legislator of the House. I now come to the 9th Parliament with just not that background, but now with the experience of 4 years of speakership of a very difficult hung parliament. I promise to bring all these experiences to bear in guiding this House to perform its mandate with efficiency, diligence, and above all, with a sense of being the bulwark of democracy in Ghana.
That was Ghana's Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagby. Now, even on this auspicious day in Ghana's democratic history, when former President John Dramani Mahama makes a comeback after his defeat in the 2016 general elections to usher in the Fourth Republic and 9th Parliament, expectations remain very high. In fact, according to local posts, newly inaugurated President Mahama may come under pressure to fix the damage caused by the outgoing administration of Nana Akufo-Addo. And some experts have said the need for change championed Mahama's victory rather than the trust in his person and experience as a former head of state. At the moment, for President Mahama to earn the citizens' trust and confidence, actionable measures should override the status quo in critical sectors of Ghana's society.
Well, for me as an importer and a businessman, the exchange rate has been a big issue on our business because you can decide to purchase dollar at any rate and it's very high at the moment. And then the rate keeps on going high and then you don't know how much you're going to buy your goods for. It's very difficult to purchase goods from outside the country regarding the current exchange rate.
What I'll be looking at is the educational sector. For me, this government have done well with the educational sector, even though it hasn't managed the affairs of the country very well. With the free education, I think it has helped the less privileged and it has helped a lot of people I know. It has taken more people from the street and I think that's a good thing. So I think that's a good point and I hope maybe the next government will do better.
As it stands now, the rate of unemployment in the country is out of hand and it's getting worse. And we need to find ultimate solution and to create more jobs for the youth.
Those were Ghanaians expressing their expectations in the new government.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Let's take you now to neighboring Côte d'Ivoire, where Jean-Louis Billon, a PDCI RDA executive and delegate of Dakar, faces a new summons from the Disciplinary Council and the Order of the Ram. This is the third summons in a few weeks following his inability to attend the previous two due to his travels abroad. In a letter dated December 23, 2024, the council headed by Dr. Marie-Ange Akaju informed Mr. Billon that he must imperatively appear between January 8 and 15. This time, no other date will be proposed in event of absence. Augustin Kuli completes the story.
The summons of Jean-Louis Billon by the PDCR-RDA Disciplinary Council remains current. After initial disagreements on the date of the hearing, the two parties finally reached a consensus. It is now set for January 15, 2025. However, Jean-Louis Billon, through his lawyer, is making an important demand before appearing. This acceptance puts an end to the misunderstandings surrounding the scheduling of this disciplinary hearing, but it does not mark the end of the tensions. In a letter addressed to the Disciplinary Council, Jean-Louis Billon's lawyer recalled that one condition remained essential for the hearing to take place. Billon's defense insists on the prior transmission of the documents necessary for his client's defense. This includes the report of the 8th Extraordinary Congress of 2023 and its conclusions. These documents are considered essential to prepare a response to the accusations brought against Jean-Louis Billon. The defense had already received the act of referral from the Executive Secretariat, the letters from the two complainants, as well as the supporting documents for their complaints. Jean-Louis Billon, an influential member of the PDCR-RDA and former minister, is facing this summons due to positions or behaviors deemed contrary to the party's rules. This disciplinary hearing takes place in a context marked by internal dissension within the PDCR-RDA as the 2025 elections approach. The two main actors in the war are Tidjane Thiam and Jean-Louis Billon.
Augustin Kuli filed a report. Guinean opponent Aliou Ba was sentenced to 2 years in prison on Tuesday. He was found guilty of insulting the head of state. This decision comes in a particularly tense political context marked by the demands of the opposition, which is calling for the departure of the military junta in power. Abdullah Hassan has more details in his report.
The verdict was handed down this Tuesday at the Kalum Court of First Instance. Opponent Aliou Ba was found guilty of insult and defamation against the president of the transition, General Mamadi Doumbouya, with the court finally sentencing him to 2 years in prison. Aliou Ba's lawyers, deeply outraged by this verdict, denounced an unfair and politically motivated conviction. They consider this decision as a serious violation of their client's rights, believing that it is based more on political considerations than on solid legal foundations. The defense has already announced its intention to appeal in the hope of obtaining a review of the sentence or even its cancellation. Recall the model leader has been in detention at the Conakry Central Prison since December 30, 2024. He was arrested on December 26 in Pamelap on the border between Guinea and Sierra Leone. On Monday, December 30, 2024, Aliou Ba was brought before the prosecutor's office of the Kalum Court of First Instance, where he was also questioned. Moreover, it was at the end of this hearing that he was placed under arrest warrant and taken to the Koranti Central Prison to be detained there. His trial opened on December 31, 2024. And thereafter, 3 hearings before the Kalum Criminal Court, Aliou Ba was found guilty of the charges against him, although he loudly proclaimed his innocence in this case.
Abdullah Hassan filed that report. Let's take it back to Ghana, as authorities have announced the suspension of its relations with the so-called Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic, SADR. This can be considered a major diplomatic gesture that strengthens Morocco's position on the Sahara issue on an unwavering support for the kingdom's sovereignty over its southern provinces. Christopher Teacher completes the story.
This decision was made official in a statement from the Ghanaian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, and addressed to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, African Cooperation and Moroccans Abroad of the Kingdom of Morocco. The timing of this announcement is particularly significant, coming just hours before the inauguration of Ghana's new president, John Dramani Mahama, scheduled for Tuesday, January 7 in Accra, the Ghanaian capital. The government of Ghana formally communicated its decision through diplomatic channels, sending notifications to the Kingdom of Morocco, the African Union AU, and the United Nations, while affirming its support for Morocco's efforts to achieve a comprehensive, just, and lasting political solution. Ghana is not the first to take this position. Indeed, since the advent of the reforms undertaken by Morocco in the management of the Sharawi issue, several countries, both African and international, have chosen to break off or suspend their relations with the so-called SADR. To date, 46 countries, including 13 in Africa, have followed suit and ended all official recognition of the SADR.
Christopher Teacher reporting there. You're listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, 94.9 FM Dakar, and via partner stations across the sub-region. Here's a reminder of the top stories. Newly sworn in Ghana's President Mahama pledges fresh start and economic recovery. In Côte d'Ivoire opposition, PDCI RDA summons generally belong to its disciplinary council. Guinean opposition leader Ali Barr sentenced to 2 years in prison. And still ahead in the news, a Nigerian group tells state oil firms to prioritize crude oil supply to Dangote and other local refineries. We do have a guest interview and sports news. Please stay with us.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
Well, don't forget we are streaming live on wadr.org, YouTube and Facebook. Nigeria is continuing its policy of stripping nationality, this time targeting 2 individuals close to the former President Mohamed Bazoum, accused of carrying out activities likely to disturb the peace. General Abdurrahman Tiani, President of the National Council for the Safeguarding of the Homeland CNSP, signed a new decree stripping the nationality of these 2 individuals, continuing a series of similar measures since it came to power. Echatiso tells us more.
According to a statement from the General Secretariat of the government, the individuals concerned are Maman Sani Ali Adam, alias Selon Ali Adam, born in 1992 in Zinda, and Busada Ben Ali, born in 1972 in Ngoti. Undeniably, the authorities accuse them of having carried out activities likely to disturb public peace and security, as well as producing and disseminating information likely to disturb public order. This decision is part of a broader policy of sanctions against opponents of the regime. Recall last November, 7 individuals, including 2 former influential ministers of the ousted government, Hasumi Masudu, former Minister of Foreign Affairs, and Alkashi Al-Hada, former Minister of Commerce, had already been stripped of their nationalities. They are also being prosecuted by the military court for treason and conspiracy against state security. Recall also in July 2023, a military coup d'etat took place in Niger in which several factions of the armed forces seized power and suspended the constitution. Deposed President Mohamed Bazoum was placed under house arrest with the junta holding a firm grip on power.
HSC reporting there. Senegalese Minister of Energy, Petroleum and Mines on Tuesday said its annual production of crude oil from the Sangoma field amounts to approximately 16.9 million barrels or 5.2 million barrels more than the quantity initially planned for the year 2024. The ministry said on its Facebook page that in 2024 annual production will amount to approximately 16.9 million barrels of crude oil, exceeding the initial target of 11.7 million barrels. It noted that about 16.4 million barrels of crude oil produced at Sangoma, almost all of the output has been sold on the international market. The Minister of Energy, Petroleum and Mines recalls that oil production started in Sangoma on June 2, 2024. The statement further noted that 12 wells located on this oil field about 100 kilometers south of Dakar are all active, adding that crude oil production from the Sangoma site reached 2.9 million barrels last December. Senegal entered full-scale oil production last June, around 10 years after the announcement of the discovery of oil deposit in Sangoma. In a related development, a group of concerned Nigerian citizens has called on the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited (NNPLC) to prioritize crude oil supply to local refineries, including the Dangote refinery, over foreign partners. At a briefing on Tuesday in Abuja, Nigeria's capital, the group expressed concern over reports that the NNPCL plans to cut down on crude oil supply to the Dangote refinery from 300,000 barrels per day. In an address by its national coordinator, Obinna Francis, the group feared the move may be part of a larger scheme to monopolize the oil sector and frustrate local investors. Francis noted the removal of fuel subsidies has led to increased hardship and suffering for Nigerians, with a hike in the price of premium motor spirit leading to a rise in the price of goods and services across the country. The citizens also expressed concern over the NNPCL's claim that the Warri and Port Harcourt refineries are operational and producing at 60 to 70% capacity. They questioned the basis for this claim, noting that the refineries have not produced a single litre of fuel.
The operations of Dangote refinery are expected to produce 650,000 barrels per day, and since it can be exported, it will boost Nigeria's foreign reserves. Dangote refinery will enhance the country's foreign currency earnings and thus result in boosting Nigeria's foreign reserves. Nigeria will be saving $26 billion annually from petrochemical plants and fertilizer importation. Nigeria will stop importing diesel, petroleum products, fertilizer and petrochemicals. This is saving over $26 billion in foreign exchange. The Dangote refinery has created direct jobs and taxes being paid to both the federal and subnational governments. When we export crude to Europe and import fuel, we export jobs and put pressure on our scarce foreign exchange. The refinery saved us from that and created thousands of direct and indirect jobs. The value of the naira, which has fallen in recent months, is bouncing back with the commencement of Dangote refinery that will soon export petroleum products and other items. Furthermore, the payment for the petroleum refined products in Nigeria naira will reduce the pressure on the demand for US dollars or euros, and thus resulting in improving the Nigerian naira exchange rate to the foreign rate and foreign currencies. Dangote Petroleum Refinery is a game changer that is capable of driving the refining revolution in Africa, excluding huge value addition that will contribute to an increase in Nigeria's gross domestic products, GDP.
That was Obinna Francis, the national coordinator of the concerned Nigerian citizens.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Well, our guest is senior finance lecturer with the University of Cape Coast Business School, Dr. Seyram Kwagwo. He speaks about the possible impact of the newly inaugurated government on the administration of the country and the expectations of Ghanaians from President Mahama.
We have been talking about doing the right thing, making sure that there is economic prosperity for the citizens. The president-elect has come up under the slogan or the vision of resetting Ghana, resetting the economic trajectory of the country, resetting the mindset of the country, making sure that all amounts that have been looted and corruption and all those things are investigated. And so everybody is expecting that things will be better.
And so to the international communities and the investor community that they have been sitting on the fence looking at how deteriorating our city has been, how economic fortunes have not been so improved over the years, what would this new era of governance mean to those people?
Every economy and every business can only foster and prosper when there is peace and the political climate in the country is very peaceful. We can say today with confidence that Ghana is a peaceful country. We've had democratic election. There has not been any fear. Business is as usual. We are transferring power to another president, and that would tell all of us that, yes, as a country, we are capable of living in peace and harmony. There is no fighting. We may disagree with each other, but we use the legal means to solve almost every issue that comes on board. And so the international community that is watching Ghana sitting on the fence, those who want to invest, Ghana is a good destination to come in. Get in touch with those who are in leadership. Get in touch with the communities. the issues of land and all those things can be resolved when they do the necessary checks with Lands Commission and all those things.
From where you sit as a senior finance lecturer with the University of Cape Coast, what is really the day-to-day bread and butter issue with the Ghanaian people that they truly need this particular change?
Yeah, we have had inflation that is more than 20%. As we speak, the last November inflation rate is 22.something%. We have had borrowing cost, that's interest rate, that is more than 25%. We have transportation in terms of fuel that we have very high. Utilities are increasing almost every 3 months. That makes the cost of living for the ordinary Ghanaian very expensive. Sometimes people will have to ration what they eat. And a lot more of the taxes that we actually pay in the country when we don't see the value for the things that we want to get.
Dr. Zairam Kwaba is a senior finance lecturer with the University of Cape Coast Business School in Ghana. And here is sport news with Sankle Janko.
Hello there, a warm welcome and thank you for joining us. The draw for the CAF African Nations Championship CHAN 2024 will be conducted at Kenya International Conventional Center in Nairobi, Kenya on Wednesday, 15 January 2025. The much anticipated tournament is uniquely reserved for African footballers plying their trade in their domestic leagues. The CAF African Nations Championship will take place from 1 to 28 February 2025 in 3 countries, namely Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania. The tournaments will be graced by several of African football's powerhouse nations, including reigning champions Senegal, who aged 2022 host Algeria in the final in Algiers 3 years ago to lift the title for the first time. As in previous editions, the CHAN 2024 promises to be a unique showcase of African football and a stepping stone for emerging talent to shine, such as Lamine Camara of Senegal, who has since become a global star and was recently voted Young Player of the Year at the 2024 CAF Awards, and former president of Nigeria Football Federation, NFF, and FIFA Council member Amaju Pinnick has reportedly said the Super Eagles will get a substantive head coach any moment from now. Pinnick, in a recent interview, said football authorities in Nigeria will soon announce a coach who will lead the Super Eagles on permanent basis. Super Eagles have been without a permanent coach since the departure of George Finidi in June 2024. Nigeria is currently being led by Augustine Ogovon as the interim head coach. He secured a place for the Super Eagles in the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations, AFCON Morocco. And that's it for sports. It's back to you.
Sankle Janko with Sport News there. And that's it on this edition of Newslink from West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Wadr for the technical support. Let's keep the conversation coming on all of our social media platforms: X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, RWDR News, and Facebook, West Africa Democracy Radio English Service. I am Imo Edit. Good evening.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, New Me FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio 104.7